and you're like, it's like, it's
that
a bit
was
too
more
much.
me than you. Hi, I'm Matt from Tubby Tarot. Welcome back to my channel. You asked for it, you're gonna get it. I've invited Justin back. Justin, hello. Hello, Justin. I've invited Justin back to talk about something that is quite an interesting topic, and that is the topic of having a vice. Now, I'm not talking about weird kinky stuff. Justin and I are going to be talking about smoking, because that is, or has been, Justin's main vice, okay? And Justin, I want to ask you, first of all, why did you start smoking? Or when did you start smoking?
I started smoking when I was 16 in school. Started stealing dad's cigarettes. Trying to steal dad's cigarettes. Hiding behind the house and going to take long walks and trying to smoke in the bathroom, in the toilet. And so I started when I was 16, and I continued smoking all the way up until recently. Very clean smoker, 5 cigarettes a day.
Totally. I mean, Justin and I have known each other for seven and a half years, and I've never once in that time actually smell of cigarette. Some people actually walk past you and they stink of cigarette smoke. Do you think that smoking is a vice, or was a vice? Do you think that people who smoke, that is their vice?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, smoking is an addiction as well.
That's interesting. Is a vice in your mind an addiction, or is it?
I believe, in my personal opinion, I do believe it, because there's many different types of vices, as we know.
Yes.
And
like
a vice is also something you will go back to. It's not something you dip in and dip out. So the smoking, it was continuous, it was daily. That I was addicted to it, and it was my vice. It was my little thing that I was doing.
Okay. And tell me, how did you decide, what happened to make you decide to give up smoking? Because I believe something you have to change, something has to change for you to want to give up your vice.
So a couple of weeks ago, I went for a medical test, and it so happens that I was really concerned about this particular thing, and the test came back negative, and it came back, there was nothing wrong with me. But I think medically, I was so concerned and I was so worried that it was going to be something serious, that I literally said, I kind of bartered with like the higher power, God, you would say, like, whatever you believe in. I kind of bartered and said, I kind of wanted to give this up from a medical perspective because of like a health point of view. But I also thought to myself, I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to say, this is my sacrifice. I want to give you this as a sacrifice in exchange for my good health. But also, I have been wanting to give up smoking for a very long time. And I've also had a lot of cases in my family with cancer. And I think all of that sort of, played in my mind, and it was the perfect timing.
So it was like a health thing for you.
More health.
Now, I want to ask you something. How did you go about like deciding to, what was the process? Because somebody who is smoking, they can listen to you and they can be like, oh wow, that's a really good way. But somebody who is addicted to gambling, or has gambling as their vice, or a huge problem nowadays is being addicted to pornography. And the pornography would be something hidden away from the family.
Yes.
And that would be their vice. Now, let's take gambling, for instance. You're not going to be ill because of gambling. Do you know what I mean? So do you think that your technique, or how you came about stopping your vice, do you think other people could use it for whatever they've got, even if it's not a health issue?
I think a lot has to do with, at the outset, let me just say, it's very difficult to give up a vice. And it's very difficult to give up an addiction. I was not a heavy smoker. I used to only smoke 5 a day. But it was still, it was this perpetual habit. It was a habit over and over. And it's so weird. I mean, when I actually gave it up, I was actually like so programmed at certain times to actually look for my box of smokes to go and smoke. So it was in my mind. So a lot of it has to do with a clear mind, a conscious mind, having a good support structure, and also wanting to make the change. You can say till you blue in the face, I'm going to give it up, because I mean 100% for the past 3 years I've been saying, this year giving up when we were doing our New Year's resolution. Matthew, I'm giving up smoking. I'm done. I'm finished with it. But it's the mindset. I'll tell you very quickly. It's the mindset, and it's also finding ways to change it. For me, with the smoking, it was not easy, as I said, but I made the choice within myself. I didn't talk about it to many people. Matthew didn't even know. He actually sat with me when I had my last smoke. It was on a Thursday, and it was during my lunch break while I was working from home. Before that happened, I threw my cigarette case away that Matthew bought me. I put my...
Let me qualify that. It wasn't new, it was old and grubby. So
it was an old, and it was actually giving up, surprisingly. So I kind of, that also like made me think, because I was also thinking like, the cigarette case, like, because I was keep putting it in my pocket, it's actually getting damaged. I was like, maybe this is the universe actually telling me it's time to give up. So Absolutely. I threw the case away. I had my last loose cigarette in the box. I threw the box away. I put the lighter away. I took my ashtray, it's actually Matthew's dad's ashtray from 30 years ago. I took the ashtray, I washed it, I gifted it to my dad, who is still a smoker. I got rid of everything that associated myself with smoking. Matthew doesn't smoke, so for me, there was nothing in the house.
So that's interesting, because let's take I'm going to use the example of gambling. What somebody with gambling problems, that's their vice, could do is perhaps not drive past the casino on their way to work.
Maybe change your route.
Maybe change your route.
Maybe if you have a gambling app, those gambling apps are very addictive. Even if you're not putting money in those games, they call it gambling games, that's an addiction.
Take it off your phone.
Take it off your phone. Yeah. Uninstall it. But it needs to be a conscious choice that you need to make for yourself. A lot of it like for me, was like a mind thing.
Brain first.
Exactly. Like, I would go to the shop, like, 4 or 5 days after me giving up. Usually I would go to the shop, get some groceries, and when I go and pay, because the cigarettes would be at the till point, I would actually say, give me 2 boxes of Camel, blah, blah, blah. But I literally had to prime my mind. It's hard, it's difficult, it's not easy. I'm not in no means saying that it's easy. But in that split second, I actually had to think to myself, listen, no, I can't be doing this. Number 1, it's expensive. Number 2, no, I want to try and smash my record. I want to try and get to a month. I want to reach my milestones. So a lot of it has to do with your mind, thinking, changing the way you do things, and making little tweaks in your life to remove whatever is associated with your life.
That prompt, that like, okay, I'm going to the shop, and then you've got the thing. So rather go to a different till point.
Exactly.
Or
but
whatever.
it can be used in any situation. If your vice is going out, hanging out with your mates on Friday, and you feel that it's denting your budget, maybe do something else on a Friday. Maybe watch a movie on a Friday. Create another tradition to try and cancel out that one. If it's, consuming the good old stuff, maybe instead of hanging out with people who do that, maybe change a habit, or maybe have coffee dates, or have lunch dates, or experiment with something else, reading or meditation, or like just do something to replace it. I found that for me, instead of me keep turning to the cigarettes, I was turning to reading a little bit more. I was turning to exploring the internet a little bit more, and watching documentaries. That helped me change my mind and actually prime my mind to do something else.
And now, okay, you're saying that changed your mind. How did you actually, like, I kind of know, but maybe you'd like to explain, is how did you, in your mind, how did you go about doing this?
Oh, Lord. A lot of prayer for me. I'm very still in touch with my spiritual side. I'm still very in touch with, my prayer. So for me, prayer is one thing. The second one, it's about really focusing and having a goal in your mind. If you know for a fact that, listen, you want to give up this vice because of a health reason, or this is doing something, always keep that at the back of your mind and actually prime your mind to think, what is the negatives of this vice? For me, the negatives, I always keep thinking that I was going to get cancer. And because we have cancer in my family, I didn't want to get, so I always had it at the back of your mind. Also, having a really good support structure, having a buddy system always works. Matthew is my buddy, so he kept me accountable. But for me, I really didn't need like a buddy because it was a decision I made for myself.
Totally.
But if you're finding it very difficult, maybe have a friend who you can check in with. Maybe have a friend who can keep you accountable and say, have you had any temptations today? How are you doing on your journey? Are you okay? This, that, and the
I
other.
think it's very similar to if you're an alcoholic and you go to AA, you have a sponsor.
Yeah.
So they're always there for you to check up on you and for you to phone when you're in that problem.
But a lot of it has to do with your mind thinking,
I think
clearing your mind
you
as
also
well.
did a lot of meditation and a lot of like soul searching, and apart from just deciding, what you're going to do, I think you did turn a lot towards your belief system.
I kind of turned towards myself and turned inward, and also used it as a period to reflect. I definitely meditated a lot more. I definitely, I have a ritual every morning where, I light incense before we even have a shower or anything. I come downstairs, I open all the doors and windows. It was part of my ritual. But in that little, like, ritualistic moment of, like, putting the incense, we have a little pot in the corner where we put the incense. It's about intention, and it's about really channeling my thoughts to say, I'm putting this incense in the pot today, and I'm hoping, and I'm being mindful, and I'm being really hopeful that I won't be tempted today to turn to smoking. So I turned inward, I turned into my thoughts, I turned into meditation, and I really started thinking and not just saying, okay, I'm giving up smoking, that's it, but being very clear with my intention and my act of actually giving it up.
Now, you have turned to something else to help you.
So, I know every vice is different. I'm not saying that if you're going to give up gambling, go and download the gambling app, for example.
So instead of physically going in,
exactly,
rather gamble at home on
exactly.
the app.
So for smoking, as you know, smoking is very difficult to give up because, for the substances, and it's very addictive, etc. etc.
Like
Physically, it is very, very difficult to give up. I have got a vape, an e-cigarette. It does not have nicotine in it, so I went cold turkey on the nicotine. The first couple of days were very difficult, but I kind of use that now and then. I don't feel, ever since I turned towards other things to keep my mind active, I'm not reaching for the vape that much. So the vape is still there if I do feel a little bit anxious or stressed, and I do have want to have a puff or two.
It's kind of your safety belt.
It's just a little. It's my pacifier and my dummy.
Okay.
It's a little dummy. It's a little dummy for me.
Yeah.
I just right. I'm fine. I don't turn to the vape a lot. A few puffs. That's it. There's some divine flavors as well. Fruity stuff, minty stuff.
And from my point of view, is I don't have to worry about, I can't sit outside while Justin's having a cigarette because I hate the smell of smoke. Keep all the windows and doors.
It actually smells really nice. Really nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I don't use it a lot. It's just sort of there. If I just need a bit of a done. That's it. Finish it.
Also, what I think I mentioned to you the other day, when you're using a vape, it's not like you light a cigarette, you have to finish that cigarette. In your mind, you've got to finish that cigarette. With the vape, you can take 2 pulls.
You can take 2 pulls. You can put it off. It's electronic. It's got like a cool little light. I mean, with the cigarette, as you know, number one is it's the smell, which is absolutely unbearable. And then, like, you're trying to talk and you get choked and you're like, it's like it's
that
a bit
was
too
more
much.
me than you.
But so I have turned towards that. I am being very mindful not to get too addicted to the vape, because there is a flip side of it as well. You can turn to the vape too much and then you become addicted. So I replaced one for the other.
One vice for another.
Yeah. But I am trying to find positive vices in my life. I'm turning to my meditation. I'm turning to reading scripts of different world religions and different spiritualities, learning about that. I'm using that time to actually turn inward and replace it with something positive. So yes, the vape is still there, and I will definitely give up the vape, because the vape is nice to have, but it's also like, for me, I know why I will give up the vape. I mean, for those of you who vape, replacing the liquid, then the liquid gets messy, then the coil, and it's just, I'm very lazy. I'll get very irritated, so I'll eventually just give it up. But yes, turn inward, turn in your mind, try and be supported by people who can be there for you. Focus on something different, and turn that one vice, turn it into a positive vice that you can get addicted to for the good.
Yeah. Justin, thank you so much.
Sure,
because I think a lot of people out there have got, they have a vice, and a lot of people, I'm sure, would like to give it up, but they don't know where to start. I think that's also a big one. You've got to know where to start, you know, and I think what you've said, you've got to start. The very first step is deciding you're going to do this.
I also just want to leave your viewers just with one last thing. I gave up smoking about 3 years ago for 6 months. And somehow or the other, Murphy's Law, my e-cigarette that I had with no nicotine fell and broke, and I was too lazy to go and get it replaced. And I turned towards smoking again.
So you kind of fell off the wagon.
I fell off the wagon. Fall off the wagon if you need to fall off the wagon. If you're at the edge and you are holding on and you are falling, and if you need to fall and you want to fall, fall. But pick yourself back up. Don't allow yourself to be, oh my God, I can't make it. Like, fall, pick yourself back up, and go back again. It does not matter if you break it. If you break your, how can you say? If you break that cycle of saying, okay, cool, I'm gonna fall, but I'm not gonna get back up. I don't really care.
So many of us do that. Yeah.
So many of us do that. But fall, allow yourself to fall, and pick yourself up, because only you can do it. Yes, you can have your support, but if your mind is not primed, and if your mind is not ready to do it, it's very difficult to make a change. So if you have advice, all the best to you. If you, I'll be in the comments. I'll be, I'm a social media manager, so I will be looking at the comments. And if you need advice, or if you need help, or you just want me to virtually listen with Matthew as well, commenting as well,
I like this one, right? Tell us about it. Tell us about your vice if you can, if your vice is not too naughty. But yeah, share with me, share with Justin, and maybe we can give some, not advice, I hate that, but maybe we can sort of like discuss it with you. I think that would be very cool. Comments down below. Justin, thank you so much again.
No problem.
And guys, thank you so much. I'm Matt from Tubby Tarot. This is Justin from Tubby Tarot. We'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.
Hi, thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to go and like and subscribe, and check out some more of my videos in my playlists.